All right, everyone, as usual with our Saturday and Sunday shows, give me about 5 to 10 seconds to make sure we're actually live because YouTube can be glitchy. There's nothing to be done about it. There's like a 10-second delay or something like that. I don't even know why they do that. It's not long enough to actually stop someone from showing like weird shit. So, okay, we are indeed live. So let me pause that, mute it. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. This is the Mother's Day live stream. Yeah, make sure to show your mom the link so that she can come and watch as well. The more the merrier. That's in this age of COVID with all the lockdowns and stuff, maybe that's the closest you can get to actually seeing your mom in person. So it'd be a problem. Today, by the way, it is Q&A, which means you send a super chat and I do my best to read it. Quantum Football, in honor of 5 years of Matt and Blonde, please say epitome. Also, do you think Vermont will ever become a free state? Well, it already is a free state like all the others. It does have, I mean, it did join the United States with the understanding that its initial constitution under its republic was codified. That being said, of course, if it or Texas, the other technical republic, were to try to leave, might is right in that sense. The government has a monopoly on the use of force. That's why it's a state. Yeah. So basically, this is a Q&A show, generally speaking. The only reason that I even really do the super chat thing isn't even so much about the money, as if you've got 1,000, 2,000 people watching, even with slow mode, it's impossible to reply to even a small proportion of the comments. Yeah. People talking about why does Tim Pool say the word sheriff so strangely? I've never heard him use it, so I don't know. Anyway, just a second. Let me check this. All sorts of Rumble uploads. By the way, over 1,000 people are now following me on Substack. You can do the same. If you look in the description of this live stream, there are various links to other sites that I use. One of them is Substack, and it's sort of like a WordPress site. It's like Medium without the censorship. Glenn Greenwald uses it and so forth. I had one person say, well, he's known to have left-wing and globalistic beliefs here in Brazil. That is true, but he's still right more often than the MSNBC and Fox News talking heads. So anyone that's being censored that often, they can't be all wrong. Also, it's only 10:50 a.m. It's funny because here it's the mid-afternoon. The EST, which is where a disproportionate number of people are watching from, you're bright and early. You're up to catch the worm, I suppose, at the moment. You've got your clanking going on. I've already clanked earlier. I've got even stronger stuff at the moment. Azimuth Coordinator, any opinions on stacking previous metals? I think you mean precious metals. Well, I have silver. I don't do gold. The problem with using gold is that in a survival situation, it'll be worth so much that it'd be almost impossible to measure out small enough parcels for day-to-day use. Silver, a few grams here, an ounce there, you could make your intermediate size purchases, like maybe your groceries is a couple of ounces of silver. Can't really do that with gold. What are you going to do? Sit there with a microscope and splice it into tiny grains? David, my parents were illegals. Mom became a citizen thanks to Reagan. But I was born in the U.S. How can I defend illegal immigration? I find it hard to debate. Well, I mean, you're a citizen. You were born in the United States. I don't know about your specific background or anything like that. Legal immigration should be streamlined and made easier for people who are law-abiding and sort of tick the boxes. Unfortunately, the government has basically ignored the backlog there in order to focus on what Schumer wants, which is to legalize 10+ million illegals who didn't follow the proper routine. And it's rather sad because there are people who actually want to be Americans. They want to actually become, and behaviorally and civically, they want to be American as opposed to simply be in America, and they're completely neglected. And it costs them a huge amount of money to immigrate too. Look up immigration lawyers, see how much they charge per hour. Dr. Zowden, Stick, should DC become a state? I say no. Well, no, and also it can't under the Constitution. It would literally be unlawful unless you create a new federal district. You could do it out in a cornfield in southern Illinois or something like that, but then that cornfield, I guess, 100 years later, people would be demanding representation from their 1 hectare corn plot. By the way, the door is open because it's warm right now. That's why I'm in the boomer camo at the moment, so you might hear a little bit of background noise. Omega Blade. Where does globalism come from? From communism. It's an imperialistic movement. It's just changed form. The idea of, in the old days, empires would try to take things over and they'd say, well, we're taking it over for the Americans. We're taking it over for the Soviet Union. We're taking it over for the British Empire. They realized that wasn't the way to do business. The way to do business is to take it over in no particular name so that nobody can particularly attack you for taking it over. You simply have all of the elite from all of the parts of the world loosely competing in a very, very rudimentary sense, but otherwise working together to screw people. This is why the TPP essentially allowed an American billionaire to go screw Filipinos and a Filipino billionaire to screw Americans. That's globalism. That's basically what it is. It's imperialism after a different name. It's a more sophisticated version of imperialism that doesn't require combat. The Geth. When people say you should leave the city and stock up on supplies, they really mean you should bug out, prep for shit hits the fan, but prepper language is taboo. Well, no, it's more like you don't need to worry about shit hitting the fan, but you should still be self-sufficient. And you can't really, you can't do target practice in the city. In some states, it's hard to find a fucking working gun range. You can't grow crops or anything like that. You should be prepared. Yeah, you shouldn't bug out. You should prepare to bug out if you need to. But you can't do that if you're in Manhattan. Well, you can if you get $1 billion, but otherwise, not really. Tony Soprano. Hi, Styx. Who do you think came out on top of the Razor and Kulinski debate years back, and why? Well, Razor, because Kulinski's an idiot. But I mean, the left-wing brigaded all of the polls and everything like that. But they always do that. That's happened to me. It's happened to everyone else. That's why I don't bother to debate them. It's not in good faith. It's not even a debate at that point. It's just bloviating. Mickelvo. Hi, Styx. I was wondering why people are incapable of grasping the concept of private property, gated community McCloskey case. Your take on this. Yeah, it's hard for people to understand that a road isn't necessarily a public edifice because all they see is a road. They assume that it's publicly funded. In a gated community, the road is funded collectively by the people that own the gated community in a collective sense. Arguably, in some ways, close to collectivism in the commune sense, but it's funny because leftists don't like that. It's like you can, on your property, you can put up a stop sign in the middle of your yard. It's not legally binding or anything, but it's exactly the same as the kind that you find on the road. And so, I mean, it's a private edifice. It's a private sign that you've put up that looks public. It's just same thing as a road. If you get a piece of property and you've carved it up so that you have no choice but to build roads or paths or something for people in the interior to be able to access the outside world while still collectively funding it, it doesn't make it a public edifice. Gabriel McAdams. Hi, Styx. Just wanted to know if you've played The Outer World. It's like Fallout, but sci-fi with a good story and the main baddies being corporations. I've never heard of it, actually. Take a look at that. So I'm playing Napoleon Total War 3, actually, at the moment. Definitely getting into it. Chasing Liberty. Applied to some UK universities. If I get accepted, do you have advice on living there? Benefits of life in Europe over the US. Czech Republic has CCW. Well, I don't know about the UK because I've never been there. And it's not part of Europe at this point. In some ways, it's more liberty-loving, and in some ways, far less so. But I've never actually stepped foot in England or anything like that, so I couldn't tell you the answer to that. Joe Biden's dentures. Every time a super chat is sent, Jared Holt sheds a single tear. Iron Eyes, Cody style. Yeah, he's probably sad that I've got a Substack at this point because I'm probably getting more views than he does anyway. He congratulates himself. If 10 people watch his fucking podcast, he thinks that it's a red letter day. I have to fight with 2 arms and 2 legs tied behind my back and still get 100 times as much airplay as he does. It's very funny. By the way, he blocked me quite some time ago, actually, over that VDARE article, I think. Rose knows. Do you believe in order for future travel outside the U.S.? They will force vaccination. Oh, in order. They will force vaccinations. Scary times we're living in. They might. They might try, but there's already enough backlash against it that I think that the COVID vaccine passport thing is already on its way out. At least that's my hope. To be clear, I'm not going to bother getting vaccinated, not because I'm anti-vax. I'm pro-vaccination, but it's no purpose. It's just like the flu vaccine. If I get the flu, there's like what, 0.001% chance of death. It's not even worth taking an afternoon off and potentially getting the chills. It really isn't. Mitchmo, $20, no comment, thank you. The crappy robot. Count Dankula beat the community party. Lol. I don't know anything about that. I do know that recently he's been gloating about something, but I'm not sure what. I'm assuming it has to do with British politics. Sebastian Monroe. Do you think we're repeating Weimar Germany? Should we prepare for skirmishes and bushwhacking? Oh, I mean, you can. I don't think it's Weimar Germany yet, though, but it's getting dicey. It looks a little bit more, and I think Ramsey Paul actually mentioned this. It looks a little bit like the oil shock era of Jimmy Carter. And Biden is kind of like that. He's sort of a fruitcake. He's out of touch, doesn't really know what he's doing. He's not trying to be malevolent in his case because he's demented. But the people behind the scenes that are advising him are completely evil. Darun Albane. I think adding 4 to the Supreme Court would be good if each side can pick 2 with 0 debate. No, I don't agree at all. I don't think the Supreme Court should be changed at all. It's too long a precedent. We're talking about, 100 years or something like that almost? Change should be something that is engaged in reluctantly with regards to government. Jack Rosomac, $9.99, no comment, thank you. Colin Oot, thank you for being my morning entertainment. Also, nice cat. Yes, there's 2 actually over here sitting ass to ass, half asleep, trying to ignore the traffic outside. Third man, can you give a quick explanation as to why China is a paper tiger and why the U.S., declining as it is, will prevail? Well, the U.S. is not declining. Right now, we're in a tough spot in a time of general rising. That is, the U.S. is still the tech giant. It is helpful. We've come up against hard times. We've been through them before. The hope is that things get reformed and continue to move. If they don't, I believe that new tech will break through, so it's meaningless. The U.S. is not on its way out or declining, and China, meanwhile, is slowing down. They've already shown signs of having deep problems, and they've also alienated a lot of their neighbors. They're constantly harassing the Vietnamese, the Filipinos, the Japanese, the Taiwanese, the Pakistanis, the Indians. They've stabbed Russia in the back on their energy deal last decade. The list goes on and on and on. Their illusion of strength is largely propagandistic. Remember, the easiest way to win is to convince your opponent that you're too strong to fight. And that's exactly what China is counting on. That and the fact that there's a lot of investment in their country, but it's beginning to flee to India, which I think is a good thing. Evan M. Ari, your video about how the Dems are now calling W and Romney the Republicans who will put principles above party. Yeah, this is a funny one, isn't it? It's amazing that they had no examples of Republicans who opposed the Iraq War. Yeah, because there were none. I can't think of any. Was Ron Paul in office at the time? He would have opposed it. Other than that, you can forget about it. Yeah, W the hero, the chicken hawk. Dylan the Spider. G'day, Styx. I may not agree with some things you've said before, but you've definitely helped me see things from a different perspective. Thanks heaps, mate. Really appreciate what you do. Well, thank you very much. It's funny because a lot of people, speaking of super chats at the moment, like leftists and stuff will call me a grifter for taking them, and I'm like, well, I'm a capitalist. I see no problem with it. Styxhexenhammer. I am Styxhexenhammer's arch nemesis. Oh no, it's Progressive Voice under his alt account. I made a meme about that, like rivalry with Jared Holt has ended. Now Progressive Voice is my rival, or something like that. I'll post that on Minds later if I can remember. Remind me of that in a Twitter DM. Chasing Liberty. Thoughts on having multiple citizenships, residence permits, etc., then renounce U.S. citizenship and being nomadic versus staying and trying to change the U.S. It's better to stand and fight. Now, that's why I'm still on YouTube. YouTube keeps abusing me, but I'm not going to leave the platform unless they ban me, because I can use it to popularize other platforms. It's always best to reconnoiter and use the things that you already have to make other things that are outside of the control of who's tyrannizing, when possible. Arthas Menethiel. Molyneux says the dollar will collapse soon. Agreed. Possibly. No, I'm heavily invested in crypto. By the way, Dogecoin collapsing on the SNL Elon Musk joke that he made, I guess. Doesn't matter. I've got 700 Dogecoin and I'm not selling. Signed up for Coinbase only to figure out you can't buy Dogecoin there, so I've got to find a different service. If it bottoms out, I will invest. I'm considering that with crypto. And disclaimer, this is not official advice of any economic kind. I personally will be investing heavily into various cryptos if the market collapses. I'm convinced that after the collapse, it'll stagnate for a while and then shoot back up. And it'll be far higher than it is today because of market volume. It's just what I happen to believe. There are things that could prevent that from happening. I just don't see them happening. The Human Centipede. Hey again, Styx. Just wanted to say I discovered you last year during Chaz and have been a proud clanker since. One thing we have in common is that we both have home state pride, except you're from Vermont and I'm currently in California. Yeah, it's harder to have pride in California probably these days. No offense, of course. There are plenty of good people there, but the government there is nuts. Bishwadeep Das. Hi, Styx. Big fan from India. Oh, excellent. Do you feel libertarianism and populism is a coherent match ideologically? Yes. In fact, they're inseparable. The idea is that the government that you do have under a limited government arrangement must represent the actual people that are already there paying the government to represent them. That's populism. Under libertarianism, it's simply constrained. Of course they can coexist. A constrained government is more likely to represent the people anyway. The Geth. My university requires the vaccine to go back to campus. I'm about 2/3 through a math degree. What should I do? I can't give you any advice officially because this is YouTube, unfortunately, which means you can probably guess what I would otherwise tell you if I were at liberty to do so. I do not believe in compulsion. Big Ugly Clowno. You should read William Stern Randall's biography of Ethan Allen. Ethan Allen, Vermonter, famous. Entrepreneurial, anti-dogmatic, free spiritualist, clever in his insults. Perfect Vermonter. Yeah, Vermonters do it differently, and Ethan Allen was a cool dude. Green Mountain Boys, carving the British up like a Christmas turkey. Huns with Guns. Where can I buy things like silver? It was a JM or JW Bullion is what I've used. I can't remember which mint I used, actually, to tell the truth. You can just get, like, scrap silver coins, too. There'll be a markup, but you can get them at any pawn shop or something. Chandler Lee, by the way, donating $500, so thank you very much there. That's pretty great. Love everything you do, man. Dying to see you and Ryan Dawson collaborate some point. Keep up the great work, Daddy. Yeah, I think he got banned, actually, off of YouTube fairly recently. I would make a video about it, but people are banned so quickly now, I can't even fucking keep up. I know he's still on BitChute and all the other alt tech sites, or new tech sites at this point. I've talked to the dude before through DM. He seems pretty cool. I like how basically anyone I want to talk to is immediately branded a Nazi. This has been happening for years. It doesn't even matter what their views are. Meanwhile, the Gravel Institute, which is far left, this is a funny aside, earlier was ranting about Israel being an apartheid state, killing Palestinians, which, it's true. Slaughtering Palestinians, driving them off their land. But I'm thinking to myself, like, if you had an R after your name and were a progressive group, you'd be calling for your own deplatforming as a Nazi front. It happens all the time. Colin Cahey, Styx, what is love? When you don't hurt me, of course. Genetic disposition. Hey, boss, chickens are the best. You should raise chickens. I actually do want to do that in the future, not for meat, but for eggs. I imagine farm fresh eggs are on a different level. And eggs are just so great. Like making omelets. I can make like Asian-style omelets, massive amounts of curry, some lemongrass and shit that would make your mouth water. Texas Horse Rescue. Horse rescues are now racist. Becky's Hope is all volunteer 501c3, so 100% of donations go to saving animals. But we were denied grants because we, all volunteers, are not a majority POC-run charity. Yeah, well, when you registered, if Obama was in charge, of course, remember, back then Lois Lerner was headhunting after anyone that tried to register for 501, unless they were like donating to the Democratic neoliberals. So you might want to try again. Maybe Biden is less crazy. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. Will the cabal make Uncle Joe run in against Donald in 24 since Kamala's failing? Or is the plan to make Kamala president midterm still on? I have no clue. Biden's pushing 79. He's having cognitive difficulties. I can't imagine he's in there, but Kamala's not qualified. She laughs crazily when faced with issues that involve suffering. So she's a fucking psycho. She's not good at debating. We've seen this before. She lost against Pence handily. She didn't do well in the primary debates. I can't imagine her doing well. I did a write-up on Substack about Tim Scott and how he wouldn't be a good 24 candidate. I think that it's like is not still going to be Trump. I think he's likely to dust himself off and run again. If he's running against Biden, Biden probably collapsed the economy by then. So, he could win. Lucius the Eternal, the Scottish buddy. Okay. I don't know what that means. Hey, hello, it's me again. Hey, hello, it's me again. Hi, Styx. When are you going on Steve Turley Talks? I constantly suggest to them your name. Love you. Well, they haven't contacted me, so I don't know. If people contact me, sometimes I'm willing to do it. It's just with the time difference, the problem is I'm in Amsterdam. There's a 6-7 hour difference to US time. It makes it very difficult because I do everything in the morning. Like even at this time of day, which is mid-afternoon, I'm beginning to run down. I have to, swill down more caffeine in order to keep up. It's a vicious cycle. Dragonfly 6300 Styx. Have you heard of or watched the YouTuber Aaron Clary? I've heard of him. If so, what are your opinions on his views that the decline of the US is inevitable? I do not agree. I think we've just begun the American century. I think that people just don't see it at the moment. Sebastian Monroe. Ghost Politics said you can buy gold and silver on eBay auctions and bid based on market value. Maybe so, but the problem is buyer protection on eBay may apply, but how do you know that silver bar isn't iron on the inside? And how are you going to return it undamaged if you buy it? The problem is there's a lot of fly-by-night Chinese bullshit on eBay that is not actually real. You'd be better off buying old coins, like, scrap silver or gold or whatever. You'd be better off buying a junk drawer lot on eBay, which, by the way, I've done that before, and it's actually pretty good. Big Ugly... Oh, it skipped. Oh, no. Oh, I hate it when it does that. Big Ugly Clowno. 6 House Republicans voted against the Iraq War, including Ron Paul. Good. That's it. Also, all the Senate Dems except Patrick Methuselah Leahy, who voted against it, are gone now. Yeah, most of them are pro-war. By the way, Tim Scott actually believes we should keep troops in Afghanistan. That's one of my gripes against him. James Kratos 6684. Any possibility on going on Rageaholic Razorfist podcast? Yeah, I'd consider doing that. People still think we're the same person, although during the election, remember, I did have him on my live stream, proving that we are not indeed the same person. Adherent of Lady Columbia. Been looking into Vietnam War, and I've realized we're basically made the first fully drug-introduced super soldiers. Your pops in Nam, tell any tales. Yeah, he's kind of quiet about it, which I think a lot of Vietnam vets are. But yes, they did. They drugged them up on benzos and dextro and opiates and everything else under the sun. They were smoking pot and drinking and stuff. Yeah, they basically were super soldiers. Had some side effects. Greatest Nick of all time. My brother from another mother. Always following you since you launched out of high school. When do you think Biden will implement some sort of medication that I can't really pronounce? Probably never, because that would preempt the vaccine. That's why all other treatments have been blocked by the FDA. Hong Kong, not saying any of them are safe and effective, but they have been blocked. Chasing Liberty. Would the U.S. fall in similar ways to the Roman Empire, or is this time similar to an ocean low tide? Should the U.S. move manufacturing to south of the border to prevent economic hardship as a factor of illegal immigration? Well, the U.S. will continue to expand. Anything that doesn't expand tends to contract. Our biggest problem is from without through subversion using groups from within. I believe that there will be a civic backlash against them in the coming decade or so, but time will tell. It's impossible to say. Nonetheless, you got to realize there's a huge disconnect between America in the sense of big cities and decadence and shit, and people living in the countryside, small towns, suburbs, and so forth that are still with it. And that's half the population. So we've got advantages. It's just that a lot of people are blind to them. Mr. Twisted Frenzy. How many more states do you think would have to go pro-gun or anti-gun laws before SCOTUS finally makes a ruling? They already will be taking up a case on concealed carry. I am optimistic that concealed carry will go nationwide. That's the next big step. It's already been decided that the militia is the people, that the Second Amendment involves military arms. It involves the right of individuals to keep and bear them, which is a no-brainer. These have already been decided. We're going pro-gun as a nation. We're not going back. There's too many guns already in too many hands for them to get rid of them all. Hey, how many millions of guns are sold every month? And that's with a shortage. Now just think of the ammo. Man, I wish I could invest in a factory that made ammunition like 22 rounds right now. I'd be a millionaire overnight practically. Sebastian Lee. Do you think there's a correlation between loss of faith and rise in mental illness when it comes to society? No, I think that the mental illness thing is partially overdiagnosis and partially the result of more people being diagnosed because of more urbanization. 100 years ago, the average person, they weren't anywhere near a psychiatric office now, were they? They can't be diagnosed with anything. Now there's one within a couple miles probably if you're in a small town. Now, It's overdiagnosis. It's like when I was a kid, they diagnosed every other kid with ADHD, including me, in order to sell people pills so that pharma could make money. Now it's autism. And then tomorrow it'll be something else. And they're going to keep doing this because it makes them money. There's a vested interest in them overdiagnosing literally every disorder under the sun. Squish Beard Crumbs. Your thoughts on the works of Robert Sepper? Never heard of them. Probably should have. It's probably some famous that I just haven't studied yet. Student of history. Did you have a fun time clanking on the Young Turks? Shame I'm always at work when it happens. Yeah, it's fun, although they've blocked the term clank. Actually, if you go to the Young Turks, and go into one of their live chats and try to say clank, I believe it is muted at this time. And they banned hundreds and hundreds of people. Their moderators were having a time of it. It was great. Sebastian Monroe, the fringe left wishes you a birthing person day. Yeah, exactly. It's no longer Mother's Day. It could be a boy. It could be a Zircon. It could be an attack helicopter. Otherwise, you're being politically incorrect. You will be deplatformed by the Gestapo. Adonis Adams. Hi again, Styx. How do I research the occult? Go to archive.org and search occult terms, and you'll find literally thousands and thousands of works. That's how I do it. Use archive.org. For archival purposes, in the sense of websites, they're now useless because they'll purge things if queried for political purposes. But for books, they've got basically everything ever written, including things. There's probably 3-4 copies of some of those books in the whole world. Big Ugly Clowno. Any chance you'll do appearances on other channels in the near future? Tim Pool, Unsafe Space, or maybe even the Lotus Eaters with Sargon. Yeah, I'd be glad to go on any of them. The thing is with Tim Pool, he prefers to have it in person in his studio. And of course, I'm not in the US right now. I'm in Amsterdam. I don't know about Sargon with the Lotus Eaters if he does it remotely as well. But I've had problems because he has Discord. And I tried to connect a couple different times and I could never figure it out. I hate Discord. I can't make it work. Not that I would want to anyway, because it's a cesspit. The Human Centipede. My response to your response is yes. It breaks my heart seeing my home state getting destroyed. I can only imagine how you feel when it comes to Vermont. Fingers crossed Phil Scott gets out and Caitlyn Jenner beats Newsom. Yeah, I hope Phil Scott leaves. Go back and maybe I can become governor. Then I'd have to waste my time pretending that it was a relevant position. You got a supermajority Dems in the House and Senate, so the governor is vestigial anyway. Phil Scott's vestigial. He should get used to it and just retire. Take your pension and go. Go to New York or something. Retire to a state that cares. Vasidius. What are your thoughts on McKinsey and Company? Been keeping an eye on them since they got outed supercharging OxyContin sales. Now they're advising Hollywood on diversity. Yeah, Oxy's a bad thing. Anyone that's pushing drugs off on the population, typically some palms probably got greased. That's basically how that got through. D&D. Just a heads up, YouTube gets a cut of these super chats. People should try to donate somewhere else. Yes, the irony of this comment is not lost on me. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, you can donate crypto. Links in the description to 5 different crypto wallets. I accept all the major ones. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash now, Litecoin, and Doge. That's an easier way to do it, although you have to gas up Ethereum and shit like that. But the thing is, YouTube's cut actually isn't inordinate. I'm gonna say that in defense of YouTube, if they're hosting a stream to several thousand people, they're using bandwidth. It costs money. I don't really begrudge them taking a cut, but I will be checking out Odyssey and Rumble have live streaming now. I'm going to be testing them in the future, and soon I believe BitChute will also have live streaming. So I'm going to look at those, see what I can do. Maybe I can split the stream, maybe see which one is the most effective, the most stable. And then I'll probably be using a different platform. But for right now, it's still YouTube at the moment. Green Glassful. Styx, have you read James Burnham's The Machiavellians? Recently back in print. Max Stirner's Ego in Its Own? Great one. Thoughts? Cheers. No, I've never seen them. You got to realize mostly I read books that I also edit. So they tend to be older and out of copyright. Anything that's more recent, typically I skip over in favor of the older books. I like the older ones anyway because they're pre-political correctness. Anything pre-Marxism is automatically going to be more valid and more believable than anything modern. The Ahagao Faces. Have you listened to Drab Majesty? I'm not a huge fan of rock or any variant of them, but their music style is unique. It got my normie attention. No, I've never heard of them, but I do like rock and roll. Check them out sometime. Itch That Mitch. I've been trying to clean my life up. I want to stop smoking pot too, but I'm having a hard time. I hate being a slave to a substance. Any advice? Well, pot's not addictive in the chemical sense, generally. It's habituating. It's easier to quit that than it would be smoking or alcohol or something. So basically just don't buy pot. I don't know. I've never really had cravings when I stopped smoking it, so I don't know what to tell you. Sort of the least among the drugs. Also less dangerous than most of them. It's funny, that's the one bad thing about Joe Manchin. He's a drug warrior. Kageminowara. Hi, Styx. Lately I've been wrestling with the fear that civilization is going to collapse or get taken over by communists. Can you give me some white pills? Yeah, it's not going to get taken over by them. If it gets taken over by anyone, it will be globalists. So I would just, get some land, learn how to grow things, learn how to cook food. Just basic skills. Things that are marketable no matter what sort of economic system is used can always be part of a black market economy if communists take over. Keep in mind, communism spawns a massive black market, especially for music and poetry and things like that. I think a few got skipped here. I'm sorry to everyone, but I can't help it because so many comments. Mr. Twisted Frenzy, how many more? Oh, no, wait, actually, I read that one. Okay. So actually, I didn't skip several. Thank goodness. Now I've just got to find where I left off. Oh, okay. Student of history. Post-economic collapse, Trump will look like an absolute godsend. And insert Joker quote about cards being down and seeing the real person. Yeah, Trump will come out of the current situation potentially smelling like a rose. The economy is already downturning. Biden will take the blame for that. Ocean, is there any dungeon synth that you are particular to? Dungeon synth. I don't know what that means. Is it video game related, music related? If you mean like synthwave, basically just go into my music playlists on YouTube and you'll find 1,000 of them. I don't have my favorites public, but I got several others that have a huge amount of 80s music in there. Josh and Jesus. Would love to hear you rant about Tom Barrett, most corrupt mayor in America, but slips under the radar. Also, can I interview you on my locals channel? Potentially, you'd have to message me on Twitter, although keep in mind I've got like 100 people that message me about designing a website, so it might get lost. So you might have to ping it from time to time. Anyway, I don't have any thoughts about him. I think the most corrupt mayor is Weinberger from Burlington myself. He's nuts. Leonardo Diamond, what's your opinion about the full auto ban? Well, there's no ban on fully automatic weapons. That's a common misconception. You just can't import automatic weapons or manufacture them, which means basically the pre-ban weapons are the only ones around, which means if you got 10 grand lying around, you can get a Tommy gun. Perfectly fine, perfectly legal. I don't know why you'd want one. It'd be better to get an actual assault rifle so there's select fire, but those are banned. That's a little bit different from a fully automatic, like an actual machine gun. People, by the way, liberals don't understand the difference. Mustard, Styx, do you have any books on Irish or Scottish mythology to recommend? Yes, I got done. Popular Superstitions of the Highlanders I actually did a couple of weeks ago. If you check out my books, blogs, link in the description, Blogspot or WordPress, and you go to, I can't remember which section I put it under. Just go back through the posts. A couple posts ago, there's one, Popular Superstitions, and that's from Scotland. Has kelpies and ghosts and fairies and brownies and all of these other mythological characters, various mythological stories, folklore. Really good work. Highly recommended. I've got a whole bunch of folklore on the books blog. I've edited almost 320 different books. I'm almost done with another as we speak. Glow in the dark. From the CIA. Oh no, everyone scatter. I was listening to Insider Never Trumper. They never once said their job was to represent the people based on the way they taught grassroots movements that take over local office are far right. Yeah, the way to do it is to take over local and state positions first. But everyone keeps going after the presidency and then expecting the president gets in there, but they've given them no ground cover. So you got the president flying overhead with enemy artillery firing at Air Force One. Of course, it's not going to work. You need to give them ground support. You need senators, congressmen, you need mayors, you need governors, you need state houses, those things as backup. Take over the lowest rung first. It's the easiest anyway, and disproportionately makes the actual laws you have to suffer under. Your local and state taxes are a big thing. It's not just the federal tax rate. So cut the head off the dragon, but the head is up its ass. It's on the ground. It's like a fucking ostrich. Alamendorius. Bah, late again. Hey, Styx. So got a question for you. Do you think people in Canada will notice the contrast between pandemic approaches in the US and how they work? I mean, look at California, New York versus Florida. Yeah, there's a huge difference between U.S. states. There's a huge difference between countries, I believe, here in the EU as well. And lockdowns don't really appear to make much of a difference. Eventually, people are going to notice, although they should have, in the last year. It takes people a while. You got to realize most people aren't as intelligent as those people watching this live stream. Not everyone are geniuses like us clankers, to be clear. Greatest Nick of all time. I was referring to Joe Biden's gal. Oh, yeah. Oh, gaff. Sorry. Yeah, Joe Biden. Well, which gaff? He makes them every single hour. Literally, has he had a speech? This is an honest question. Has there been a speech of more than 10 minutes in his presidency or since the primaries, really, where Joe Biden hasn't at least mumbled and mush-mouthed one thing? I want somebody to show me a video clip if you can, Twitter DM if you can, if there's a single speech of more than 10 minutes since he's been the nominee for the Democrats that he didn't do something crazy or say something weird. I don't think there is. Alamandorius. I have ADHD. I was actually a case study for it. I think I might have been too. And it pisses me off to no end that they use it as a catch-all for their inability to control and understand kids, especially boys. Yeah, exactly. You got some like prepubescent kid, like 9 or 10 years old. Of course they're bouncing off the wall. They don't want to sit there for 5 hours nonstop. They want to go out and run around and look at bugs and crazy shit like that. That's not a mental illness. That's called being a kid. We don't let kids be kids. That's why the public education system sucks. If possible, you should homeschool at this point. I'm in the future, if I have kids, that's going to be what happens. I'm not putting them in the public school system, not the way it is now. I've always supported it before. I'm like, oh, yeah, those right-wingers, they think it indoctrinates people. Okay, that might be a far cry from truth, but it is ineffective. They're axing the AP courses for the smart kids to try to even things up, to make everyone equally stupid. Carlson Coy. Hey, Styx, hope you're well. What are your thoughts on Denmark? Politically, when I lived there, we had center, left, and right, and then the populist folk party. Yeah, Denmark seems pretty cool. I studied Denmark when I was in elementary school, actually, once. We were doing class projects about different nations, and I got Denmark, and we made like sugar brown potatoes, which is apparently a popular Danish dish. It's really good, if you use real butter. Then my mom tried to make it with margarine, and it came out all fucked up. It wasn't even remotely the same. She went through a health craze years ago. I'll make a video about that sometime. Unseasoned tofu, margarine, which of course we now know is worse for you than real butter, by the way, and like unseasoned rice sort of stuff. Like God bless my mom. I mean, it's Mother's Day. She cooks a lot of good food. New Englanders should not try to cook healthy food, like in the Asian sense, because they don't understand seasonings in the same sense. I do, but that's because, I've gone abroad and learned other recipes. Andrew Thorsten, Styx is Razor, Razor is Styx, Finkel is Einhorn. Yeah, I prove that I'm not Razor Fist. The Human Centipede, message retracted. Maybe, did YouTube do that, or did you? Probably YouTube, fucking censorship, probably. They don't want me to get that money. Cold Summer 91. Do you believe we are in the fourth turning? I don't believe in such things as turnings. Andre Caliu. Ryan Dawson was banned from YouTube. Any chance of a collab? Yeah, I know that he's been banned. Yeah, we could collaborate. Come on on a stream with me or something like that. We can figure it out. It's just difficult for me to coordinate because, again, I'm in Amsterdam and the time zone is fucked. Opinionated Junkie, thoughts on supplements and vitamins. Keep in mind that a lot of the nutrition from a multivitamin is destroyed in your stomach. Whereas if those vitamins are in food that you've ingested, not all of it is completely torn apart by your stomach acid, and therefore it perseveres, enters your large intestine, and can be uptaken. There are studies that show that vitamins are actually useless, or if not useless, less useful, some of them. Iron and calcium, I think, make it through, but a lot of them don't. Big Ugly Clowno, last one, wrote you in for High Bailiff in Milton, Vermont. Yeah, apparently 17 people voted for me for governor the last time around, actually. And I didn't vote for myself. I didn't tell my parents to vote for me, so. I managed to do that with one YouTube video, several 100,000 subscribers ago, by the way. Maybe I should make a serious run in the future. But, I don't know. I like gardening and sleeping in and stuff. I have responsibilities. Fuck growing up. Sounds terrible. Astronauts. I hit the 666th like. Love your work. Watch your show in the morning. Thank you very much. By the way, we never get ratioed like the Young Turks do anytime clankers pour in. You'll notice that they have 5 million subscribers. They never hit 2,000 people watching live. What the fuck? Joseph Hunt. What are your thoughts on the upcoming UFO report being released? Distraction? Yeah, distraction. Extraterrestrials exist. I am 100% certain of it mathematically. Look at all the galaxies out there in the universe. Do you honestly believe there's not a single planet out there that doesn't have some form of life on it? And if there's life, it will tend to evolve. I believe that if aliens exist, and I do, and it's evolved to a sophisticated level, they look a lot like us. I think they could probably pass as human because we probably, if the planet is similar and the impetus is similar, they're probably going to have opposable thumbs. They're going to be able to manipulate their surroundings. They're going to have a large cranium, bilateral symmetry, probably an upright stature because plants, of course, will have evolved in a similar way. Things will be nudged in a similar direction. Their cells will be structured potentially similarly. I think that bipedal aliens are actually pretty common. I don't think that it's a misnomer to say little green men because they probably would look like that, in all honesty, except they wouldn't be potentially green. But do they visit our planet? Probably not. Why would you want to? People on this planet want to go to their planets. Maybe that's a common theme. Maybe every species in the galaxy is just yearning to go to the next one. Imagine, it's funny to think about like aliens. Maybe they're 10 million miles away and they're looking at us right now. They're saying, fuck, I wish I could see that planet. Maybe it's better than ours. And then we're looking at their planet thinking the same thing. Kind of spooky, kind of a lonely feeling. Bet they don't have caffeine though. Ha! They don't have energy drinks. They suck. Losers. The Human Centipede. About to head out, but wanted to say, with me, it's going to be a fun ride, like riding a human centipede. By the way, you watched the second and third movies yet? Not yet. I'm waiting for a rainy day, literally, to watch the second one. But Liz won't watch it with me. She wouldn't watch the first Human Centipede either. I was sad. The Prenado, greetings from Switzerland. Well, hello very much. I'd like to see Switzerland sometime. Mountains are cool. There's no mountains here. The Netherlands is as flat as a washboard. I thought Texas was flat. Winged Wolf X. We call it the new tech, so let's call it old corrupt tech. Yeah, old tech versus new tech. I mean, alt tech has gone beyond being alt at this point because of the amount of innovation. It's no longer just alt tech. It literally is new tech. Blockchain and peer-to-peer and all of these things. It's no longer just a gimmick of, hey, we're YouTube, but we don't censor you, or we're Facebook, but we don't take your post down. It's gone well beyond that. And it's tied in with crypto, which is soaring right now. It is new tech officially. Dr. Zeolin, or Zeodin. Styx, why is the Brotherhood bad in Fallout 4? I'm the general of the Minutemen and the sentinel of the Brotherhood. It's the libertarian dream. Use the authoritarians to defeat the bad guys and the good guys build the government. Yeah, I prefer the Minutemen just because it ideologically coincides with what I believe in. And also, settlement building is kind of fun, I will admit. I hope that in Fallout 5 they expand on that. I hope I can build anywhere. I want to build out in the middle of nowhere. I want to put a little fast travel point. Just have like a little fort with some robots and shit, some crops for myself, and just like kill anyone that gets near me. I hope there's sieges and all sorts of weird shit. I hope the next Elder Scrolls title incorporates the basic idea too. And Bethesda, to be honest, has done this. Like from Fallout 3 to 4, if you looked at the modifications people tended to make for 3, they incorporated a lot of that into 4. If I look at the mods for 4, a lot of them improve basically, other than stability, the settlement system, settlements and customization. If they incorporate that into 5, it's going to be the best game ever, in all honesty, as long as they re-inject some RPG elements like were in 3 that weren't in 4. I don't have a problem with the Brotherhood. The problem is, of course, if you're traveling with a ghoul or a synth or a super mutant, they think that it's a terrible idea. They're xenophobic, I'm assuming that most of the people here probably would side with the Brotherhood, though. Yeah, Preston Garvey can get a little bit annoying. Thomas Finton, with Beijing Biden throwing off the Afghanistan deadline, how long before they conduct more terrorist attacks, and what do you think the method will be? Well, there was one today in Kabul. Whole bunch they attacked a girls' school in Kabul, literally within the last 24 hours. Biden's agreement has already fallen apart because he unwisely decided not to stick to the timeline that Trump brokered. And already, now there are hundreds of casualties, hazarding our ability to leave, which I think is by design. I don't think that the Clintons and the Bidens want to leave because they're making money hand over fist off the opium crop. Did you see what idiot Geraldo said earlier? Fucker Geraldo, the war pig. Oh, well, we should retaliate by destroying the Taliban's opium crop. Taliban's opium. I thought random civilians grew the opium, and we guaranteed it. We guarded it because the Taliban would otherwise attack these people. Oh, yeah, Geraldo, let's attack some more random villagers in Afghanistan. That'll work. We haven't been doing that for 20 goddamn fucking years. Idiot, shithead. Send him over there. Oh, wait, he's not allowed. He's not allowed to embed with our troops because he was drawing maps of classified troop locations when he was in Iraq, and they kicked him out. No wonder they kicked him out of Iraq, idiot. Vika Zupa. Styx, is it possible that the massive attacks on Trump were about Trump subverting the Syrian pipeline in lieu of his CCP policies? What do you think? No, I think it was because of his domestic policies mostly, because he actually gives a shit about the American people. Well, the deep state doesn't. The globalists don't care about any people in the world other than that group of elite. Essentially, they don't care about borders, gender, or any of these other things. They just want to take more of people's money and power. That's why they're attacking crypto. They're terrified of the upward mobility it's given literally millions of people around the world. It's creating a new sub-aristocratic class that can actually challenge their power because they don't have to go and work. They can sit there and organize things. They can speak their mind all day. They can say they don't have to go to a 9-to-5. That terrifies these people. Oh my God, they might demand more money. They might fight on others' behalf. They might fight against globalism. Jesus Christ, what'll happen to us? Student of history. You mentioned poetry and the arts. Also, pro tip for names, look to history. Case in point, Hanno the Navigator found a volcano named Chariot of the Gods, much better than just Mount Doom or some other basic stuff. Yeah, poetry is pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of poetry and stuff is based on historical tales, especially in Greece, the Norse, like the Poetic Edda and so forth. Tolkien, he based Lord of the Rings, a lot of the names and stuff is based on the Eddas. Gandalf literally appears there. Thorin and all of these others, Gimli, they're literally in the Edda from Iceland, from the medieval era. Harvey 27, thoughts on UK priests being arrested by anti-terror police in the UK for telling kids they don't have to agree with LGBT ideology. Well, yeah, it's the dark ages of the witch trials all over again. They're rounding up dissidents. We've got a new Stasi, a new Gestapo, and so far nobody's stopped them. Vicious Canede, how do we stop fleeing liberals from coming to Florida? By the way, stop crapping on my state. Tampa is trash. St. Pete and Clearwater are much better. Yeah, Clearwater's all right. You can't stop people from freedom of movement. What you can do is convince them that you've got a better way. I think generally speaking, they'll go there and they'll say, I thought that these evil Republican right-wing rednecks were so terrible, but things are cheaper here. Things are bad. I can get a job. I get twice as much money. Why the hell did I vote for the Democrats all those years? I think that a lot of people actually have their eyes open. Viking Woman 1988, listening from Smith & Wesson, Springfield, Massachusetts. Yeah, you still got all sorts of lockdowns and mask shit there. I feel sorry for people in Massachusetts at the moment. Keep skipping around. So many messages. Oh, God, I can't even find the last. Okay. Yeah, if people would not send any more super chats, preferably that would be nice so I can catch up since we're approaching 50 minutes. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. Uncle Joe's worst advice was when he said you don't need an AR-15. All you need to do is blind fire a double-barrel 12-gauge towards the noise you hear. Yeah, he doesn't understand guns. Probably never fired one. Alamandorius. Speaking of censorship, I shared a picture on Facebook that shared lumber prices from 2020 and 2021, comparing them. Facebook censored it, claiming it said something about COVID, when COVID wasn't mentioned in it at all. Yeah, the flagging system on Facebook is routinely misused by leftists, by Biden and his shills and his bots, by the DNC crowd. And, of course, Zuckerberg supports them, so he's not going to do anything. Glow in the dark, from the CIA, of course. Funniest thing about Never Trumpers, they lament crowdfunding because they can't withhold funds to make people like Green and Matt Gaetz. Yeah, exactly. The Never Trumpers are nuts. Cold Summer 91. What do your parents think of your content? Well, they like the fact that I'm well-known. They like the income. They don't. I don't know if they really routinely watch. I know my mom's more aware, I think, because my dad can't even turn a computer on. He couldn't even get this laptop to work if he tried. He's got a phone and he can use that, but he can't use a laptop. He skipped a generation of technology. He probably knows more about smartphones than me. That's the odd part. Neurotraveler, what are the political ramifications of the left not having enough children to replace themselves? Well, they tend to reproduce parasitically through the mind. They're like a virus or something. Otherwise, there'd be no leftists already. Which would be a better world, probably. Carl Senkoy. As you brought up food, one of our staples is rye bread, brugbrud, sandwiches, often with a side of bifries and obviously butter. Super nice. Yeah, rye bread is good. I like seeded rye, the whole grain kind. What I used to do is I would take beef hot dogs and I'd split them in half, cook them, and I'd layer two hot dogs split in half on top of a piece of rye, put on mustard, minced onion, pickles, and ketchup, and then put another piece and toast it. And it's like a hot dog sandwich. Try it sometime. Trust me. On a hot day, you won't be let down. H.B. Lawrence. Who would you recommend me watch for non-biased, independent-minded documentaries? A lot of the documentary channels on YouTube are gone, so I'm actually not sure. People can probably recommend better than I could. I've been kind of looking for that as well. Nathan's Mathan. They call me Ass Clap McGee because I be clapping them cheeks. What it do, Monica? Nexus Eagle. What are your thoughts on Idaho and Montana? Well, I've never been there. I don't have any. Isn't Idaho where Napoleon Dynamite took place, I think? I guess I'd like to see it. It's nothing but potatoes, but, potatoes, they're tasty. Lots of gardens around. Tornadoes or I don't know what happens up there. Republican politics, I guess. Kage Minowara, the fact that you don't want to run for governor and get into politics indicates that you, of all people, should be someone in a position of leadership. Now, I like to think that's what I'm doing, but more ideologically. I mean, you're more constrained when you're in public office in what you can do anyway. I don't envy anyone those positions. Anyone that seeks them probably shouldn't be in them. Kim Marinoff, in your opinion, what's the best type of business to own in a socialist society? Government bureau? That's when you get into office because nobody else has anything. Or you become a survivalist. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, socialists normally, they'll leave you alone to an extent. So you just have to hide out in the woods and grow your tea garden or whatever. Mikolvo, Styx, if you like base building and sandbox feel of Fallout, try Kenshi. It will blow your mind. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've actually been meaning to play it. I've seen nothing but good stuff about that. There are some others too, but I am a huge Fallout and Elder Scrolls fan in the Bethesda sense. I know that seems like normie gaming, but they could do a lot more with it, and I really hope that they do, because when I first played Fallout 3, I was wowed. Fallout 4, same thing. Like a little bit of Oblivion, and then, of course, Skyrim. I thought it was great. It's not an RPG. For an open-world first-person shooter, it's an excellent game. It's just it lacks that RPG storytelling aspect that I really wish that Bethesda would inject back into these titles. If they can do that, it'll be literally the best game ever made. And I do PC gaming, by the way. Consoles suck at this point. There's no reason to have a console. Invest that extra money in a better processor and more RAM and all the other shit for your computer. Dan McMullen, have you been to Von Stapel Kook Mary? I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry, I don't speak Dutch fluently. In Amsterdam, best double chocolate cookies you can get. I've been listening since 2016. Keep it up. I actually do not like sweets. No, but I like bitterballen. I like haring. I think it's delicious. A lot of people are like, well, the Dutch ate this weird gelatinous fish with pickles and stuff. I thought it was delicious. I had it at the local snack cart. They have kibbeling and all the other stuff and seaweed salad. And I don't know. I think that Dutch fishy foods are amazing. It's a New Englander in me. The Grizzly. Hey, man, thanks for the white pills yesterday. I was wondering what odds you give the populist right fortifying the election against further honkening from the left. Also, I came up with the idea that the left can't be populist. Yeah, the left can't. The left is always going to be authoritarian because of the economic structure. If you believe in centralized money, you have to have a centralized moral system administering that centralized money. It is innate. All left-wing systems are authoritarian. All authoritarian systems are left-wing. Never forget it. That being said, I don't think you can really fortify all of the smaller elections. This is why I tell people, organize locally, take over the housing authority. take over the school board, take over the mayor's office, take over your city council. If you can do all of these things, the states disproportionately are hamstrung by localities. They require the consent of the localities unless they want to march in force. Well, the average governor is not even willing to do that. Half the governors are already conservatives. And if you can take over state houses, they make 90% of the laws and a lot of the taxes, by the way, you have to suffer under. Forget the federal government. Go from the bottom up, not the top down. Erode the foundation of globalism and it will fall. Brian Francis, hey Styx, do you think America will wake up after this Biden presidency and embrace more populism and pulling back from the world? Possibly. I don't want to pull back from the world. I just don't want to bomb random people overseas and waste a bunch of money and time when we could be investing in worthy things here. Josh Bolden III, have you played New Vegas and what faction did you side with? The Brotherhood are tech fetishists that care for nothing else. The house always wins. I played a little bit of it, but it was such a glitch fest I couldn't really get very far. So, in all honesty, back in the console days, it was so glitchy, massively glitchy. It was worse than Fallout 3. So I wasn't really a fan. I know it has more of the RPG aspect, which I can appreciate, but if you can't play the game, it was like the DLC content for 3. I never could play was Mothership Zeta, never loaded. Parts of Point Lookout, I think it was, and never loaded. A lot of the content with regards to when you're fighting Enclave after the main storyline, things would just randomly freeze up or Deathclaws would be flying through the air. So it stops being fun after a while. 4 on PC with the unofficial patch is a lot more stable and quick than anything that Bethesda did for 3 or anything Obsidian. I mean, that was done for New Vegas. Paul Deli Sandwich. Hey, Styx. Tried to make a BitChute account, but the email is taking forever. Is this evidence of preferential treatment from ISPs? I don't think so. BitChute is overloaded because it's been growing so quickly. Same with Odyssey. They've had glitchy problems too, and Rumble to an extent, although a little bit less. They're a little bit more stable, but they were there since 2013, so they had more time to build things. Pacific Camo, if you started your own business, what would it be? I don't know, actually. I would never really want my own business. You know, landscaping, something, probably something plant-related, I suppose, a greenhouse or something. That would be fun. I'd like to sleep in a greenhouse in the future. I want one with a little cot in there so I can pretend that I'm in the jungle and not in a cold climate. Mr. Twisted Frenzy, how concerned should we be about Bill Gates' activities, like buying up huge amounts of farmland? Well, he just wants to make money. Probably, if he's going to make, branch out into pharma, he needs a lot of land, like the treatment for Ebola is tobacco related, for instance. Probably, maybe he'll grow marijuana. Maybe he's going to start farming pot, and that's not an exaggeration or a joke. If pot is legalized federally, and you got 6 million acres of land or something, that's a lot of pot. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's going to smoke it all himself. Imagine that you have literally a pile of pot the size of a small mountain, and then you drop an incendiary on top of it and create a cloud of pot so big that it spreads out all over like an entire state, and everyone gets clam baked. That'd be funny. By the way, people, please do not send me any more super chats because I'm trying to catch up. Saris wore my "if the government says you don't need a gun, you need a gun" t-shirt yesterday. Never had so many people stop me to compliment a shirt. Yeah, I mean, it's popular. A lot of people, they want you, essentially, the leftists don't want you to fight because if people start pushing back against them, they'll simultaneously realize how unpopular leftism is. Guns are very popular. A huge proportion of the population of the world now owns guns. More and more people every day as a ratio. How many millions of guns are sold every single month in the US alone at this point? EpicMan004, happy Mother's Day, Mama Styx. Hunter, if you're watching the stream right now, put down that pipe. Yeah, I guess he quit the crack. Now he just, I don't know. Now he guzzles expensive alcohol, probably. Thomas Fitton, thoughts on Chinese paper dragon engaging in colonialism? What can be done trade economically wise by the West to stop their desperate imperialism? Well, they're being stopped because BRICS is falling apart. They keep skirmishing with India. There are African political movements that exist solely to kick out Chinese influence. Russia is souring, I think, on China a little bit because China is trying to be the big boy in the relationship. China has problems, but people aren't going to see it until the last second. Like, people thought the Soviet Union was doing really well until a year or two before it collapsed. Then all of a sudden they realized how weak it was. The same will happen to China. I'm not even remotely worried about China, except maybe they start a nuclear war. Opinionated Junkie. I wish the GPUs come back. Damn it. Jason Morton from East Texas. Love the channel. What did you think about Tex-Mex when you lived here? I ate just Mexican food. Authentic, by the way. Where I was in the Rio Grande Valley, it was like 99% people from Mexico, either first gen or in some cases even illegal immigrants. You can get the real tacos, the real everything, like authentic food, both urban, cosmopolitan, like Monterey Mexican, and more rural. Like, you know, when the ice cream truck comes by, most people, they're not buying ice cream, they're buying cobs of corn on a stick with chili sauce on them, which I thought was hilarious. I'm like, what? I thought it was an ice cream truck. What kind of ice cream is that? It kind of looks like a corn cob. It actually was. I liked it, by the way. Weather-wise, it's, you know, it's sunny 7 days a week, and occasionally get a hailstorm, but, you know, I like Mexican food. By the way, I make real, authentic Mexican tacos the way actual Mexicans make them. They will make your mouth water. None of this bullshit. Like some people, they'll take a flour taco, not corn flour, keep in mind, like a hard taco or just like the flour, like a pita. They won't cook it. It's not fried. It might be heated up on a pan briefly. They'll put unseasoned hamburger and like raw vegetables and shit on it and call it a day. It's like, okay, that can potentially be tasty, but it's not a taco. What the fuck are you doing? Go to the Rio Grande Valley. You'll get a real taco, preferably from some place where they're extremely cheap because it's dubiously legal. That's where you get your tacos. We're losing track of everything. Please, by the way, again, I must say, we're running up at an hour. No more super chats, please, because I got to get to these ones that are already here. Bagbo Bilbins, Dildo Baggins. Hey, Styx, you're able to garden out there? I made my whole yard into one. If you like hot sauce, I grow my own peppers and make my own brand. Spicy Viking. Can I send you a bottle when the batch is done? Yes, to Rutland, preferably. I'll give you. You can Twitter DM me. I've actually made hot sauce and salsa, and I make my own tomato sauce. Wow, absolutely. Oh, yeah, if I do this, they'll think I'm a white supremacist. Sorry. So it's really good. Just trust me. I love gardening. Here, I've got a deck garden at the moment, but we may have a different setup in the future. TBA at the moment. Opinionated Junkie. Thoughts on alpha and beta male dynamic? Well, I don't really think much about that. People are just people. I don't really do. I mean, it's funny to call people beta or whatever, but I don't know. It gets old after a while. Categories. Sebastian Monroe. Fallout 1 and 2 makes you appreciate how simplistic yet fun things were. Yeah, I've never played them, but they do look pretty cool. Even Fallout Shelter looked, you know, kind of okay for an afternoon. Nickel Dime. My city quietly had a vote to defund the police. I took your advice and voted locally for the first time. It was narrowly shot down. It actually felt my vote counted this time. Yes, your local vote and your state vote count. The Democratic, the DNC cannot fortify or play around with every local vote in the country. Take command of your local politic body. Take command of the housing authority and tell them to stuff it and build a bunch of gardens. Tell them to stuff it with, ooh, you'd have to fertilize your lawn. Your lawn's not the right length. You've got to grow it longer. Now you've got to mow it. Fuck them. Kick the housing authority aside. Kick aside the weak and frail. Kick aside the local mayor if he doesn't do your will or she doesn't do your will. Get rid of them. Get them out of there. Take over your local government and then refuse to respond to unconstitutional dictates. If enough people do that from the ground up, again, all you have to do is take over the local government. You got the Metro Police, you got the mayor, you got the local council. If every town in the state refuses to obey the dictate, the governor is toothless. You've just nullified the state government. It's technically illegal, but, you know, you've done it. Civil disobedience. AB, take my money. Thank you for the $5, AB. Ball Guardian. Hey, Styx, do you think if Biden keeps falling harder and harder, do you think he'll drive people away from Democratic policy once and for all so we can have a new American century? Also, Sneed. Well, I mean, if they fail enough, then they'll reform as a party, as I've talked about, and then they'll be in a better form and maybe worth voting for. Honestly, I'm not a Republican. I'm not going to default to the GOP. I'd vote for the Democrats if they had a good platform. It's just that they don't right now. Zach Nate 100. By the way, $100. Thank you. Thanks for helping me stay informed and for providing good insight on situations. If I had to ask a question, it would be, what do you think is a likely conclusion of this attack on our culture and what I can do to avoid the worst outcome besides resist it where possible? Resist it where possible. That's literally the only thing that you really can do. What I would say is learn at least one new skill. Make yourself a little bit more resistant to the fluctuation of world markets. Again, grow some food, learn how to process it, learn how to can, learn how to pickle and stuff like that. I know you might not live rurally, but even if you have just a deck garden, if you have a deck, let's say 20 feet wide or something, a reasonably sized deck, or even just a room that you can put some grow lamps in, you realize how much food you can grow? It's a lot of food, especially if you're focusing on like fruiting things like tomatoes and shit. It's not actually that hard. Just go. All you have to do is use Google. You can basically learn agronomy on Google for free. You don't even need a degree. These days, going to college is vestigial. I wouldn't even bother. Like if I had a kid right now at that age, I'd say, don't go to college. Look, literally just sit there in your room on the fucking computer and go to archive.org to read things about what you're interested in and then Google stuff. You'll basically have the equivalent of a degree. It's about skills. You may not have the piece of paper to hang up on your wall. You print it out. You can print that out too. Who cares? ZI12, but $500. Thank you. What is your outlook on the midterm election and presidential election? What's your opinion on inflation lately? Any bust countries to move to just in case? Love your work since '09. Keep it up. Well, thank you about that. I think the midterms will go disastrously for the Democrats, unless the Republicans manage to screw it up. And don't underestimate their ability to do that because the Republicans, keep in mind, there are Trumps and Rand Pauls in the party, and Ted Cruz is, missing link, Republican. But there are also Liz Cheney's. She's not out yet, although hopefully she will be in a couple days. There are Mitt Romneys in the party. There are Mitch McConnells in the party who occasionally, through Senate overtures, do a good job, but otherwise they're nutty neocons. The Republicans could screw up and hand the Democrats victory on a silver platter despite being handed a victory themselves. My guess, though, is that they don't. And before 2024, if the old leadership is kicked aside, they might reform their party, which means that I might be voting for Democrat in 2024 if they get the right candidate. If they scrap the id poll and the we want to tax everyone and take your guns bullshit and become like a party of JFK thing, I would default to them, not to the Republicans. I'm not even a conservative. But right now, they are whining and dining socialists. They want all my money. They want to do away with the Trump tax code that actually helped the middle class, especially small businesses and entrepreneurs. They want to restore. Biden is saying he wants to restore the limitless SALT deduction. This doesn't help anyone who's not at least making six figures. It doesn't help the middle class or the working class, the 99%. It starts at like $250,000 a year. He's helping his donor class, and the left won't even report on it. So what I think ultimately is we'll be fine, but it might take a while. As far as moving to another country, don't. Like I'm in the Netherlands, but I got married to a person who's from the Netherlands. A lot of people think that I fled COVID. I came here several months before the pandemic began, and that gets lost on people because they have a lot of opinions about me, but they're very short on actually knowing anything about my lifestyle. This happens quite often on the internet, especially on certain forums out there. But no, I wouldn't flee. I'd stand and fight, learn a new skill, self-improve a little bit. A lot of people are black-pilled and they'll tell you, well, you can't self-improve. The system's against you. All is over. Don't even bother fighting. Don't even bother prevailing or struggling. Just take welfare and sit down and basically go senescent. Basically, like it's on palliative care or something like that. No, that's not what you should do. Anyone telling you to do that's a cuck or a grifter or both if they're on the left. Yeah, that's what I would say. And there's a lot of grifters out there. I won't name names, but you may have some people probably know what I'm fucking talking about. Anyway, I should probably end this stream because actually we're almost 10 minutes over at the moment. And there's planes going overhead. By the way, there is a lightning storm, I believe, coming in off the ocean in the next 15 minutes or something, and I don't really want to be live and get struck by lightning. It'd be a popular live stream while it was up, but it'd fry my computer, and that wouldn't be good. How am I supposed to make more videos? Yeah. Oh, Nicholas Fuentes joined band.video. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that they allowed people to randomly join. That's Alex Jones' site. That's like the InfoWars page. They've got, by the way, a BitChute channel. They're number 3 on BitChute for subscribers and rapidly approaching me. X22 report managed to lap me in subscribers. Although, by the way, as of today, I am the first person to hit 30 million views on BitChute. You should definitely join me there. Here's to the next 30 million. Probably by the end of the year, I'm thinking 50, 60 million total views. That's a fucking lot for a site that's 1% the size of YouTube on a good day. Yeah, so keep it clanky. I thank you all for your donations. Remember, I will be doing a Q&A probably next Sunday as well. I'm going to try to do the Saturday show, which is more of a wrap-up. If you're on that show, by the way, on Saturdays, and you send a super chat, I may or may not read it out because that's not really the intent. It's sort of a news wrap-up, and I try to get to the super chats if I can. There's a couple more, so I will read them, and then I'm going to go off. Actually, there's 3 of them. Jumping. Be Bad Sad gave $5, no comment, thank you. Crossover Maniac, what do you think of the Freemasons? Did you see the Freemason conspiracy video by Aussie X Factor star? I sat through half of it and showed how Masonic imagery and hand signals are everywhere. Yes, they are, but they're not even occultists. Most of them are Christians. They just happen to be deistic in form. You can read all of their literature. It's publicly available. I got a huge collection of Masonic Lodge bullshit. Their initiative booklets for the first 5 levels up until you're in, like, was a Master Mason or whatever is the 5th degree or something. Their burial rites, I've got a funerary text by them. A bunch of lodge constitutions, rosters. It's not a secret society. it's anything but secret. There's a lot of spooky hoodoo stuff, but that was to attract people to get them to sign up, basically. If you want real, authentic, like occult, fraternal order sort of stuff, you're looking at Theosophy or the Rosicrucians, not the Masons. And trust me, Styx, finally I catch you live, bro. Thank you for what you do. Well, thank you very much. And now I am going to go offline because we're at 10 minutes past, actually. So I hope you all enjoyed. Keep it clanky. And remember, if the Young Turks ever go live, I'm not telling you to just like their stream. And, you can't say clank anymore because you get muted. But I think the spoon emoji might go through. That's about all.